What attracted me to ACP was the fact that it was a national organization that allowed me to network with other people that were involved in the idea of business continuity, disaster preparedness, emergency management. To be able to share my story and other people's story and to learn from that was very, very important to me. And so ACP offered me an opportunity that wasn't available to me just on a parish level or a state level or regional level. It offered me opportunities both around the country and around the world. So that I found that was extremely beneficial for us.
A collection of very, very passionate individuals that believed in the same thing that I did in attempting to make a difference, to make people's lives safer and more secure through contingency planning.
What attracted me to ACP was that I had just retired and I still wanted to be active in the profession. And I received a call from one of the local ACP chapter president inviting me to one of the chapter meetings, and I thought this was a really good way to stay in touch with people in the industry and try to give back too, because I had been in the industry for quite a while.
Well, originally I heard about ACP, but I was a traveling consultant, and so the only people that I knew that did business continuity were the people I worked with, so I wasn't expanding my horizons. So when I ended up staying in town for a while in Dallas, I joined ACP just to broaden my horizons.
It's the only national organization. The extent of knowledge that you'll get from a limited group of people on a local basis, not that it's not good, and some people live in large metropolitan areas where there's a more diverse and extensive group of professionals, but the national networking, the knowledge that goes into our webinars, and the draw that we have because of the size of the organization, we get the best minds that do this all the time, and you won't match that anywhere else.
ACP is a very unique proposition for people. We are a national organization. We reach people obviously from coast to coast and outside the parameters of the United States. There really is nobody else that offers that. And there are certainly regional organizations that look at what happens in the southeastern United States as an example. But through ACP, I had the advantage of picking up the phone and calling my counterparts up in the Northwest and say, talk to me about that volcanic explosion. Or people who have worked with things offshore and say, you know, tell me about that earthquake and the tsunami in Japan and what impact did that have on their supply chain. You're not going to find that with a lot of these smaller organizations. You really need to belong to a larger national type organization to have that kind of exposure.
Well, ACP is a member-driven organization that is exclusively for the BCDR emergency management professional. There is no one else like us on our scale. With somewhere around 2,400 members, we are the largest in North America, and we plan to continue to grow. So in terms of leveraging the benefits that we provide, local associations just don't provide that set of benefits that I believe ACP brings.
Because ACP is a national organization. You can have a lot of local organizations, you can have a lot of clubs back out there, there are a lot of other entities that exist around in which they have gatherings of people. They're kind of like a networking club or people that are back in there. But when you're a member of ACP, you're beyond just your local club, but your local gathering of people. You're part of a national organization and a national platform, and your ability to be able to reach not only other people in the country, but people outside, because you have that presence. People come to you, you are a voice, and it's important to share that perspective. And so the difference that I think ACP brings is that we bring that national platform to our members, okay? That many local organizations or other organizations that exist don't have that. Their reach is just in their area, whether it's their city or their region. If you're an ACP, your reach is right now across the United States and soon to be across the world.
A lot of people talk about networking. I think the key thing is an opportunity to have a forum to hear some of the most critical aspects in our profession, but at the same time, potential solutions that we could use for our own and our own companies.
And there's a chance for leadership. All of us are conscious of the points we need to acquire each year to maintain our certifications. And I get those from my chapter involvement, attending chapter meetings. And besides that, just the amount of information that's been freely given by people making presentations, by people at open forums, and group discussions.
Besides the networking is still paramount. We've got webinars, we've got a library full of really good, not just historical data, but best practices, real practices, not just textbook lists of what should be done, but the actual examples of how it worked and what worked well and what didn't work well. Again, that's just sharing of knowledge. It's just incredibly valuable.
The idea of a national organization is tremendously important to me, that I can go to a conference and meet people from around the country and talk to them and talk about their experiences and talk about what they've learned, what they haven't learned. The ideas of bringing in new blood, new ideas, what has worked for you, what hasn't worked for you. The idea that we can bring our experiences to other places and say, this is what we learned and you may not want to do this.
The people. This is very much a people industry. And it's not so much about having the biggest computer network to back me up. It's not necessarily about having the knowledge of how to get everybody out of the building when it's on fire. It's knowing who to talk to. It's knowing where to go for more information. It's knowing your peers who have been through these same types of experiences that can give you some guidance.
I think it's the camaraderie. I think it's interacting with individuals that are in our space, that are in different industries. If I'm working on a project that maybe has something to do with financial services, I can tap somebody on the shoulder that works for a bank and ask them, when you did this, how did you handle that area? And then they can give me that information back.
What I really like about ACP is meeting the people. I really enjoy that. I really love to hear people's perspective. I really love to get to know them and understand where they're coming from. It's a shared experience. It's a common goal. It's a common theme in what we do and why we do what we do.
I enjoy being around a bunch of people who are as passionate and caring about the organization and what we believe in and doing the things that we have to do, because that's enthusiasm. It's there, it's contagious. It's what brings people together. It's what makes all of us more than what we are. We all grow, develop, and feed off of that. And so for me, coming back with it, the opportunity to be and share that passion is what keeps me going.
ACP is some of the finest professional and the most professional people in contingency planning. There are people who have been doing this for 40 years that I get a chance to listen to and speak to. For instance, Dr. Chandler is one of the foremost people in crisis communication in the world today. And I not only get to hear him make presentations at conferences, I got to meet him and spend time and talk. And Dr. Barbara Reynolds from the Centers for Disease Control. I would not have access to people like that by sitting in my office.
Having been a novice, I'm in this about 10 years now, and we founded our chapter about 8 years ago. That was about the time where I was like, okay, I've taken the classes, I've gone to the different symposiums and conferences, and I've got enough knowledge to be dangerous. How do I get more? Got to hang with people that do it all the time, and that's what this has done.
Obviously, we wanted to attend the chapter meetings. We also wanted to attend the conferences, but we absolutely need their input, whether it be through a collective of social media or whether it's actually attending the chapter meetings.
Well, the first thing would be, I think, is to get the information, go on our website or call ACP Corporate to get the basic information about how to become a national member of ACP. And from there, the member has an opportunity to decide whether they want to affiliate themselves with a local chapter or just remain as a national member.
You need to get involved in everything we have to offer. That would be the webinars that we do, that's the local chapter meetings, that's participating in the major national conferences. Get to know the people that are in ACP. This is an organization that's primarily built on knowledge, lessons learned, and networking. And take advantage of those options. And if you're passionate about this, then obviously we'd like to encourage you to get involved in chapter membership and chapter officer type positions, and possibly even the national board to sort of share that interest with others.
ACP has taught me that it's important to do something that you care about doing. So many people in the world and in their lives and their business careers have jobs. And they do a job because they bring money, it comes back in. When you're a member of ACP, it's not a job. It's a passion. It's something that you do from your heart. It's what comes out of your heart. It's what you believe in. That's what I think the difference is.
We all share the same passion for the work that we do, that it's really about helping people at time of disaster, at time of need. Many of us have actually been in a real event before, and for many of us those real events have shaped our core values and who we're all about. And so I think that's really kind of the basic premise of why we do what we do, and that's to help people in need.
The theoretical practice, the list of the best practices and so forth, with those who practice it. So the practitioner, you call it a scholar-practitioner model, sort of like what SOAP schools are, but that mix is invaluable, and you don't get that anywhere else.
I worked for a large investment bank that had to divest itself of its West Coast U.S. interests, and I found myself looking for a job. And I wanted to stay in the profession because I have a real passion for what we do, for making business better and stronger, making personal changes in people's lives for safety, and raising their awareness and getting the what's in it for me. So I was looking for a job, and I had fellow members of ACP who said, give me your resume, and carried it to their places. And I had a lot more interviews than I expected to have, and wound up with a job with a very good company. As a result of ACP, someone else gave my resume to another company that recruited me away, and I went there. And you know, I come with the credentials of a certified professional, but also the experience that I bring in conversation to my new employment.
Being part of a professional organization, I think that each individual is always looking for new, better ways of how they would do something at work. ACP absolutely provides that. Every single chapter meeting, every single conference call, every single webinar that I attend, I find a new approach, a new methodology that I can employ as an employee of the company I work for.
Personally, it helped my name get out in Dallas-Fort Worth for business continuity. Personally, I was cut by surprise in 2010, and I was the program director for our chapter. Based on the programs that I had, and I had just been membership of the chairman of the year, someone who I had not met before, they just were a random person, you know, in the audience for our chapter. As soon as he heard that I was available, had somebody contact me, you know, you need to apply for this job, and he ended up being my manager. I also think that being a member of the organization says, just like being certified, it's just one more thing. I'm dedicated to this profession instead of I'm here for 2 years just to have the experience and then move on to some other experience.
We've evolved through the years, and so we have a various different level of individuals that belong to ACP, from business continuity, disaster recovery, crisis management, emergency planning. One of our chapters, we just heard at a meeting today, one of our chapters doesn't really focus on the business continuity end of it. They have other professionals in industries because, quite honestly, when there is a disaster, and I just went through one on the New Jersey coast, it's not necessarily the business continuity professionals, it's the individuals that have to understand how to recover. So I think that ACP as an organization, evolving to include all these different levels of individuals, has promoted us to become something a little bit different than what we started to be, but now we're more inclusive of every single element that can increase the level of awareness for contingency planning, both on a business level as well as a personal level.
The most important thing that I have found within this organization is passion. And I know that's an overused word. Everybody's passionate about everything. But But what I have really found is that the people that I speak to are very passionate about what they do. I have not met a person who does not understand the value of what they bring. It is about saving human life. It is about, in any way decreasing any type of human misery. So for us, it's a passion about the bigger picture. It's a passion about the bigger goal. It's a passion to understand where we play a role in times of people when they're at the greatest need, where they don't know what to do and they don't know what's going to happen. I think that what I have met in the people within the ACP has been that passion for that commitment, is to do the job they do well so that others don't have to suffer. And that, for me, is a great honor to be a part of.
I think it's the enthusiasm. I think it's the passion for what we do. I think it's the fact that we know that ultimately some of the things that we're involved, many of the things that we're involved in can actually save lives. And I don't think many people, I think a lot of people in the industry don't really understand how important their role is from a life safety standpoint. When you see these natural disasters and you see how many people lose their lives, and in many cases it didn't have to happen if there had been adequate preparation, adequate response. And I think that's a very overlooked faction of what we do.
We're here to help people. If you really stop and think about this profession of contingency planning and emergency management, disaster recovery, those are all pretty ominous terms, titles. We jokingly call ourselves the masters of disasters and doctors doom and gloom, but in reality we're pretty passionate about resiliency and trying to help our organizations be able to get through some of these challenges, whether they be natural hazards or man-made problems. And what keeps all of us going is the fact that we're always looking for that next big obstacle, that next big hurdle, and to make sure that the plans we've built are going to support our organizations and allow them to keep moving forward.
I've served as education director. I've gone to school multiple times, absurdly so, continue to do so. I teach outside of here in addition to the other things I do. I think that's the best way to learn. But getting professionals who practice to share those practices, that's the other side of the equation, which is always missing unless you belong to a group like ACP. And you can do it on a local basis, but that's very limiting. When you do it on a national basis, now you're talking about the best of the best. You get to hang with people that you would otherwise have to pay an awful lot of money to spend time with you to share their knowledge.
The people in ACP really care about what they do. They really care about helping and making a difference and changing things in the world. And that's what keeps me coming back, even though it's all the hard things that there's what keeps me coming back to where things are.
Natural disasters and man-made disasters are going up. In New Orleans, we had our 500-year storm and Katrina, and now we had, of course, Sandy. And so what we're seeing is that there's more and more need for business continuity, emergency preparedness. And the more that we see these disasters happening, there's still a bigger need for us to continue to stay involved. It's the opportunity to continue to learn and to continue to expand my sense of knowledge, expand our network, continue the dialogue, open dialogues, change the silos, take down the silos. And again, the most important thing that I think with ACP is that it allows me the opportunity to really just simply save people's lives. And that's really what keeps me involved with ACP.
I think the one that comes to mind best is we had a joint program with our sister chapter in Orlando, and we were invited to sit in with Disney, and they talked about what they learned from the hurricanes of 2005. And the interesting thing was that they had a plan to bring in all the hoofed animals on the approaching hurricane, and they found out that that was absolutely the worst thing they could have done for those animals. That those animals were more terrified because of they could sense the falling pressure and hear the wind and the rain, and they were panicked because they were penned in. Had they just let them roam, these animals naturally seek a low level and just hunker down. And that was just an amazing thing. Well, gee, here we were trying to protect these animals when their instincts actually provided better protection than we as humans could provide for them. So it was really an interesting experience, and Disney, being so close to Disney and knowing how huge it is, it was a real enjoyable experience.
In the state of Louisiana, after Katrina, we had a lot of challenges in recovery. And the state of Louisiana, long story, started a business emergency operations center. And part of that, in starting that practice, was to allow businesses the opportunity to be part of the response and be part of the recovery. So again, instead of getting FEMA MREs and FEMA ICE, what we wanted to do was go back to local businesses and say, can you provide us to this stuff? Can you give us the opportunity to keep businesses within the state of Louisiana? People within the community have no idea where does this food come from, versus an MRE versus, a plate of red beans and rice. They have no idea how it got there. They don't even understand that that MRE was $9 and this plate of red beans and rice was $5. But that's their tax dollars at work. And not only is it's a $5 meal, it's a better meal. And the person down the street that owns that business has cooked it, has raised it, is cleaning it up, has served it to us, and those dollars are staying within the community. That's what the ACP has brought to the state of Louisiana, and more importantly to the city of New Orleans, is that our involvement from the beginning, our involvement in the idea of vision, our involvement in saying what can it be, not what is it, what can we do to help our community when another storm happens or when another event happens. That's where ACP in our community has been very, very active. And it's allowed us the opportunity to take this and actually begin to sell this and market this and talk about this across the United States, to take what we have learned and apply this to other parts of the nation where you may not have a hurricane, but you may have a storm, an ice storm, you may have an earthquake, you may have wildfires. You're going to have some kind of event. It doesn't matter. You're going to have it, but why do you need to experience the things that we did? Why do you have to have a complete systematic shutdown? We have learned from this and allow us the opportunity to share some of our best lessons, and that's what ACP has allowed us to do, is to begin to take this mission and to take it out across the United States. And it is a tremendous value, I think, from both a member perspective, a chapter perspective, as well as a national organization, to be a part of that dialogue that's now moving nationally and then next year internationally with our message. So that's my personal story with ACP. So.